Okay, so now I'm gonna do the last problem for lesson 2.10 multiplicity cool down. And the last problem is a sketch the polynomial, but now we have, it's a little bit different. So, so here, what I like to do always is I like to extend our polynomial. Here we have a third power. That means we're gonna write down x minus 2 3 times. So we're gonna have x plus 4 as our first factor, and then x minus 2. We're gonna write this down 3 times because it has a third power. Okay, so now that we do this, we can find our zeros, and our zeros will be x equals -4, and then x equals 2, x equals 2, and then finally x equals 2. So here we have our zeros, and we have our multiplicity. And by multiplicity, I'm totally doing this incorrectly. And here, so our first zero will be -4, and then we have another zero of 2, but there are 3 of them. So 2, 0, 2 has a multiplicity of 3, and -4 has a multiplicity of 1. Remember that if the multiplicity is 1, it's gonna go through that 0, so it's gonna go through it. And if it has a multiplicity of 3, it's gonna go through that 0, but because it's a higher number than 1, it's going to have an S-like shape. So go through with an S-like shape. Okay. All right. And now, before I continue, let's talk about the degree. So let's see what type of or what degree this polynomial is going to have. Remember that to be able to find the degree of the polynomial, we have to multiply all the x's. In this case, there's x times x is x squared times x, x to the third times x is x to the fourth. So we have an x to the fourth degree. That means because the degree is an even degree, we know that the graph is going to travel in with endpoints pointing in the same direction, kind of like u. Now, in order for us to determine if the leading coefficient is a positive or negative, so I'm gonna put leading coefficient, shorthand coefficient with coef. So we look at the front of the polynomial. In this case, it's a positive number. There's no negative in front. So we know that the leading coefficient is a positive. So our graph is gonna travel in the upward direction like that, okay? And then finally, we find our y-intercept. And remember that the y-intercept is the constant term. I'm going to do this one in blue. So if we multiply all of our constant terms, so 4 times a -2, that's a -8, times a -2, that's a +16, times a -2, that's equal to a -32. So we have a lot of important information here. So let's go ahead and put our zeros down. So we know it's going to cross that -4, and we know it's going to go through x equals +2. Those are our zeros. We know that the graph is going to travel, it's a 4th degree, so both endpoints are going to travel in the upper direction. So I'm going to put an arrow saying it's coming, they're both going to be going in the upper direction like that. Actually, that came out a little too crooked for my taste. So then it's gonna have to be like this. We know that the y-intercept is a -32, so we know that it has to travel and cross through the y-axis somewhere down here. And we know that and that's it. So now, since -4 has a multiplicity of 1, it's gonna cross through -4. So we're gonna continue down, and it's gonna cross through here. We know that the y-intercept is that point, so it has to cross that point there and then travel in the upper direction. Now, so the graph is going to cross through +2 on the x-axis, but it needs to have a curve like an S. So as you travel up like this, as you travel up like that, So it's going to come down, cross through here. As you travel up, it has to curve like an S at that point. And then this graph will continue going in the upward direction. And that is a sketch of what your graph will look like. It has to pass through this -4, and it has to pass through +2. But since +2, 0, it has a multiplicity of 3, it needs to give an S-like shape right there. Since -4 has a multiplicity of 1, it goes straight through it. Okay, so as your multiplicity gets higher than 1 and it's an odd number, the S shape will be necessary for the graph. Okay, if you have any questions, email your teachers. If not, that's pretty much it. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.